Awaken with Mark is a channel that is charting the journey of our family. It's what happens when an African American family relocates to the continent of Africa. And I'll tell you what happens. We start winning. That's what happens.
What got you into teaching and what was that like?
It was fun. Teaching, um, really, I really started teaching just as a way to travel because, when I was in the US, I was working in Virginia, in the DMV area. I was working at like
Right,
tax
right.
administration, and one of my coworkers was talking about traveling abroad and living abroad and teaching English. And I knew that you could teach English abroad, but he was just helping me with like deciding which country, because he was saying, oh, if you go to South Korea, you're going to be doing a lot of work. Um, you'll get paid well, but it'll be a lot of work. And if you go to Southeast Asia, you'll
Hmm.
be able to work less, so you'll be able to travel around Southeast Asia a bit more. And the weather is better and all these things. So I took that into consideration, and I just started applying to jobs, really, just to see what would happen. And I did. I got hired at EF, at English First in Jakarta. A lot of English teachers, that's their first job if you're in Southeast Asia, is English First. They hire a lot of first time teachers. So they put you in a house with the other teachers, and you're basically teaching like after school It's like an after school program for the kids there. So yeah, and once I started teaching though, I found out that I loved it. It was
That's
a lot of
awesome.
fun. So yeah. So that's how I started teaching. It really initially started as me just wanting to travel and trying to find a way to do that,
Right.
and get paid to do it. Yeah.
What was your favorite thing about teaching when you discovered like you loved it? It was a passion.
Um, I loved it because it was something new every day.
Okay.
So I can't, it's very difficult for me to go into somewhere and be doing the same thing every single day. So, it was different. I had the same classes, but depending on the day, it was a different class. Then, you get different students' personalities and different questions every
Right,
day.
right.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah.
what inspired you to transition to entrepreneurship, or was that something you dabbled in or already been doing over the course of your life?
Yeah, I'd already been like doing that. I'd already been like creating when I left. By that time, was I making jewelry? Yeah, but I had already been, painting or, making jewelry, selling it here and there, So I had always, that was always a part of, me anyways. So
That's
yeah.
cool. So what's that like setting up a business when
Mm.
you're traveling abroad and it's moving with you?
Now it's much easier than it was then. I don't think when did I set up actually no, well, I think yeah, at the time, when Etsy came, I don't know if you know what Etsy is. Etsy
I'm
is like
familiar,
a
yeah.
it's like a website where you can. Okay. So I started seriously selling my things on Etsy.
Okay.
I think when the kids were babies, and it wasn't so bad. And then it's kind of easy. It's just a little difficult. You have to pack all of your, whatever. If you're selling a product, you have to take it with you wherever you go,
Right.
and that was the issue, is shipping and that kind of thing. Southeast Asia it wasn't as complicated as it can be here sometimes on the continent to ship things, as you
Right.
probably know by now,
Yes, ma'am.
and expensive. So um yeah, that was really, for me, that was really the only really the serious complication I had, was the shipping issue when I came to the continent. But other than that, it was pretty easy. If you can, setting up a website these days is pretty easy. So yeah,
Nice.
not too difficult. Yeah.
What inspired the so it sound you're come across as a very artsy person,
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
decorated. You also, feature a lot of art in your videos, going to different cultural either centers or
Mhm.
events people have. Like you like to showcase a lot of that. Have you always been a
Yeah.
very artsy person at heart? And is that where the idea to make
Oh, yeah.
jewelry come from?
Yeah, I've always been this way.
Awesome.
I've always been, yeah, into the arts, and my degree is in Pan-African Studies, and the
That's
focus is
right.
on arts, culture, and literature. So, I've always been, um, yeah, this has been a way of life for me. So when I did have my business in Pittsburgh, it was called Culture Clause, and it was a fair trade handmade community. So when I was on Etsy, I was a part of a group of women called the Handmade Collective of Black women. So they were all
Mm,
making their own clothing. They were making, selling it. They were making jewelry, furniture, anything you could think of. So I thought, well, why don't I just put a store together where people can come and buy these things like physically, And so that's where
right.
I started in Pittsburgh, and then I moved that store to Bali. So
Okay.
the physical location, I closed it in Pittsburgh and reopened it in Bali, Indonesia. So yeah. And so um no matter where I am, I always try to make the arts and artisans outside of myself. I always try to focus on those things because I'm always just amazed by the things that people can create with their hands. It's so coming from the US, where a lot of things are manufactured in
Hmm.
facilities and stuff like that, it's just really amazing to me that people can create all of these beautiful things just with their two hands or whatever, and whatever the creativity they have. So yeah,
Wow. Like we kind of take that
yeah,
for granted back in the
it's amazing.
States.
Yeah, well, you don't even know. Like for me, I didn't even know that people like not that I didn't know. I guess I just never even thought about it, until I started making my jewelry on Etsy and seeing these women, and then I came to the continent, and you're seeing people make, like you said, furniture, shelving, yeah. So and I like to showcase those things, if I can.
Yeah. So wow, so
Yeah.
you make everything by hand. Is that right?
Who, me
Mm-hmm.
personally?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
I mean, I like to showcase other people. Like I do things like jewelry.
okay.
Like I made these, these earrings,
That's cool. I
that
can't
kind of
do that.
thing. But but like there are things that I do make. I know what I can do, but the things that I cannot do, yeah, I like to.
Okay.
I like if I can't have it handmade. That's what I prefer. That's what I
Gotcha.
prefer.
Gotcha. So you
Yeah.
collaborate with others or showcase their talents
Yeah.
as well.
Hmm.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Do you have is it meditative? I want to say I know the answer is yes. When you're handcrafting what you make, do you get into
Of
a zone
course.
when you're,
Yeah.
what's that like?
Yeah.
The art of making. That's great.
For me, luckily, since I've been on the continent, I actually can get more into the design process because when I was in the US, I was actually like earrings like this, I would design it and I would make it by hand and all that. I don't What I do now is design. I design and I can find somebody I can collaborate with who can make it. So I can actually design more elaborate items than I probably would be able to do in the United States because I just have access to people who are more skilled, right? At creating. So now I can really get into my creative process. That almost always involves music, some
Love
music
it.
and some incense, and um yeah, that's usually it. And if I could get quiet time away from the children, but that's it. I usually get music and incense, maybe some tea or something,
That's awesome.
and I usually just, yeah, sit there and just kind of zone out and draw what's in my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. And yet, for all those listening, she can describe them a little better. I'll attempt to. The earrings she's referencing are these really cool black hoop earrings. Is there any
Hmm.
other? Did I
Yeah.
cover that about right? What are they made
Well,
of?
they're made of ebony wood.
Yeah,
So an
beautiful.
ebony wood like gemstones has kind of a spiritual meaning too. So ebony wood, some people call it mahogany, is known to be like a protective energy, right? And this is Masai beading. So these are Masai beads right here. They're gold, and this is brass. Every piece of this is handmade. So this brass part was handmade by a brother in Tanzania. The beading is the Masai beads. This was, all of this was handmade, every piece of it. I drew it and designed it, and and worked with the artisans there to get it done.
What other pieces do you design that people can find when they look you up?
Well, I have some clothing. I have some of the things are not on the website as of right now because they're in the container on the way here. So they're, between, things coming from Tanzania and getting to Ghana, all of my things should be here next week. So within the coming weeks, I'll have everything back on the website. But I do, for me personally, I have jewelry on the website, like earrings, necklaces, clothes, all different kinds of clothing. I think, and of course my book and workbook. So yeah, and there's also t-shirts. I mean, I don't handmake these. These are obviously they're drop shipped, but
Okay.
like I do design the t-shirts. So yeah, there's
Nice.
t-shirts and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, she's we're on Zoom, guys. You know how I do. So she's rocking a really cool dark Africa themed tee with the
Yeah.
Pan African colors and everything. And that's cool. So you can look forward to those on her store
Yeah.
as well. Your
Mhm.
process when it comes to your business, like a typical day, you mentioned you got to have your tea, you got to have your music. What's a typical day like for you
Yeah.
as an artist and
Um.
businesswoman?
Oh. That depends on the day. I have two children too. So I mean, my days, I have to get them off to school first, and there's like a whole thing that real life things I have to do. And then depending on the day, there may be, like this, it might be an interview. It just depends on the day. I'm working on a second book, so sometimes it's a bit of writing, sometimes it's a bit of drawing out some designs with some of the new artisans I'm working with here. It just depends, on if I have to go grocery shopping that day or not, like what happened, like
Hmm.
what's. So I try to do something every day though that is working towards melanin migration. Yeah,
That's
no matter what it
awesome.
is, there's like at least one thing every day that I can do. Whether it is just doing some promoting for the consulting or whatever it is. If it's something more artistic based, just something every day that works towards the business. So
Nice. Does discipline or structure play a role at all, or as best as it can? Because you're right, every day
yeah,
is different.
yeah, it is. At the moment, I'm just trying to survive and keep my sanity
Yeah.
because we're still in transition with this move.
Gotcha.
Because I'm still not even in permanent housing, so we're not moving to our permanent house till next week,
Gotcha. Okay.
right? So once we can get to the permanent housing and get the kids, then we'll be close enough to the school for the bus to come, and so we'll be able to get into a groove. The bus comes, then the kids will be off, and then we'll get into a nice little routine like we were back in
Rhythm. Yeah.
Tanzania, and then I can get back to the everyday, the routine of things. But right now I'm just kind of winging it a little bit until we can get more settled.
Gotcha. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any advice to artists, especially traveling artists like yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, maybe one single piece of advice you'd give them as they try to get
um
settled or find routines and still create?
yeah. um I have a few pieces of advice, but one thing I would
Okay.
say is just to be patient with yourself. I've been working on that with myself, because it is difficult for me to to not have a routine. It was very nice in Tanzania when we were able to settle into,
Okay.
this kind of everyday routine, but it's been, kind of difficult for me to wrap my mind around, one day I have to go look for, appliances to buy for the new house. And the next day I have to, drop the kids off and go to the grocery store the next day. It's different because I have so many different things that still need to be done. Um, outside of creating things at the moment. So just trying to give myself some grace and knowing that I'm still trying to settle and we're still in transition um here. But as far as being an artist goes and traveling, the most important thing you can do is network. I could tell you that, I mean, for me, that's how I was able to get the jewelry done that I was able to get done, and to be able
Nice.
to work with others, which is something I did not really do in the United States, as far as my artistic process. But I really learned coming to the continent. That's one thing that it has taught me is community, especially coming to Ghana. Community is something that I really have to be patient with, and I had to really learn. Yeah.
So you can't be an island unto yourself, or at least not
No,
for long.
you can. I mean, you can if you know, but you will be much more successful. You'll
Yeah.
be much more successful if you are working with others. Yeah, for sure.
Was that an easy thing for you to do? Like networking with different people in different countries?
When I was living in Bali, if you don't have a community where you're at, then start one. You know, like I did that.
Exactly.
I
Okay.
There was if you look at if you're on Facebook and you go to the groups, I don't know how popular they are now, but like if you look up brothers and sisters of whatever country it is, whatever area, it'll usually pop up whatever the Black people are in that area. So I started the Brothers and Sisters of Indonesia when I was there. And so I was
Nice.
kind of able to bring people to me. You know what I mean? I was kind of able to
Yeah.
create that.
Be that
So
nucleus.
yeah. So if I can't find it, then I'll try and find a way to create it. Yeah, for sure. But it's definitely important to I think your long-term success in whatever new country you're going to, just to find your people.
So you can find out and go to our website and learn more information about that. Also, to help others, if you're thinking about this particular type of journey for your family, we offer a free assessment, something just to get your juices flowing, to get you thinking about what kind of things you need to do to prepare for this kind of a move. For example, in the assessment, you'll spend some time figuring out what is your why? What kinds of things are you interested in?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice you would give people starting business, whether they have overhead such as yourself, or whether maybe it's remote or anything? Maybe it's as simple as do your research to see like how easy is it to start a business? Do you need a work permit? Do you need more details that way?
So all of those things are important, but I always encourage people to go to whatever country you're going to and get settled first. You need to get settled and learn that culture and the people where you're going to be living first. I don't recommend anybody starting a business before the first year.
Okay.
Because you really need to learn people, especially if you're hiring people to work for you. You need to learn how them people work, because it's different everywhere you go. Every country I've lived in, people have different ethics when it comes to working, and so you need to be aware of those things. And you only learn those things through time. It takes time, and to build the relationships you're going to need for the business that you want. All of that takes time. So first, don't worry about business so much. Save your money, get yourself settled, learn the culture, learn what's needed, what's not needed as far as business. But that's not something I ever encourage anyone to rush into unless you're coming to a place where you already have a business that is online or something like that, that's already been established. But if you're coming somewhere and starting something new, take your time. It's not a rush.
Yes. Yeah, I was watching one video where someone, I forgot who it was, but the advice was great. They said, settle, go at your own pace, because some people, they'll move to another country, be it somewhere in Africa, and they might not do anything. By that, anything, they mean business or something for maybe 6 to 8 months. Everyone's pace is
different.
It's different. And that's assuming, your savings were on point or whatever the case.
Exactly.
So that you weren't stressed and weren't strapped for cash or something like that. As soon as you landed. But it's very important to get settled and not rush. Was it easy for you and your children to do that? Like me, you grew up in the States. You traveled more than I did, but you still, your point about the police and just some of those anxieties. Did you feel that anxiety to, okay, I got to be doing something. I got to or was it easy to
I'm
kind of
always
settle
like
in?
that. No, I mean that whether no matter where I'm at, I'm always like I have some kind of anxiety
Charged up.
about producing and creating things, and I don't know. I follow this account on Instagram called the Nat Ministry, and it
Oh
really got
yeah,
me
they're
to
good.
thinking and that got me to thinking is that the capitalism that's been ingrained in me to feel like I always need to produce, even if it is something creative, so that got, so that I've been rethinking that. So since I've been here, I've been trying to make it an intentional effort to do nothing sometimes,
I
but I
love
do
that.
put that pressure on myself. Like I need to be creating something. I need to be writing something out, like, why am I like this? Like, why am I putting this pressure on myself, and just creating anxiety for myself? Like, why am I doing that? And I think a lot of that is ingrained as Americans. We are ingrained to be always producing and working. And, so I do that quite, and I'm trying to stop.